Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to say ladies and birds. Um, welcome to Daddies Matter 2. I am your host, Tylon Xavier Washington, and we're joined by, of course, the illustrious Brenda Brown. Get down, Brenda Brown is in the house. How are you, Brenda?
Oh, I'm okay if I can get this button.
Phrasing, Brenda.
Wait,
Oh my
yeah, I'm
God.
not. Yeah, I'm not. I didn't think.
Is she?
Yeah,
Oh,
Is
beautiful
she?
lady.
hey, I don't get much practice at this.
Yeah. Well, practice makes perfect. And
Absolutely.
I see my good brother here as well. How are you, my co-host, the doctor, the good doctor, Ron C. Osborne Williams is in the house.
That I moved up to co-host. Okay, fine. Let's go. Put the
Yeah,
capes
yeah.
on and
Before you
let's
know, he'll be
put
the
the
only
capes on and let's
host.
fly, then, my brother.
Did you see the new
No, I
flyer?
don't want
You're
to do
like at
that.
the top. You got top billing.
Yes, yeah, I see the new flyer, and that's wonderful. And one of the great parts is that I think that I had a little talk with some fathers this week, and I told them that we did all the fathers got to talk, and I said it's
Right.
been just one person talking, so
Mhm.
we should always keep group when it comes to this, so it doesn't become one voice because fatherhood is so diverse.
That's right. That's right. See that? See, that's why he got top billing, guys. You see, he just comes in with that clarity, that concision, and that focus of purpose. Thank you for that. And Willie, is Willie here? Did Willie get in yet? Oh, we got to worry about Willie time. I think
You have to worry about Willie when he get
when he
here.
gets here. Okay, well,
Yes, he is actually
Most
out,
ladies
and
say that. That's fair.
yes, he is actually out on the road, and he is like doing the security side of the house, as Willie C.
okay,
Smith would say. And nope, we are joined here though in his steed, Dino the genetic marvel.
Oh
And why
my.
I asked him is because he was on a podcast yesterday about Juneteenth. So I was like, no way. So
That's
out
true.
of all that whole hour and a half, that's all I got. And also Eric Newton out of Oakland, California, who joins us and is just really, really, yeah, he's a wonderment. He's more than meets the eye. And
okay.
then we have the beautiful
Oh,
Cheryl Weber, who
Hello,
is with
hello.
the amazing Rob Weber.
All right, Cheryl.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome, one and all. Are you getting a little delay? Am I good?
You're good for
pretty good.
me.
All right.
You're good
Good for
here.
me?
Okay, well, good. Yeah, we had also our Fathers in Freedom yesterday, and Brenda was a part of that. And
Whoop,
we,
whoop.
yeah, it was about looking at the wrongfully convicted crisis that we have in the country and connecting it to fatherhood. When you have so many fathers who are actually and factually innocent and they're languishing in prison and they can't be fathers to their children. They can't be husbands to their wives.
Hmm.
It's a
That is
real
fair.
serious crisis that no one is talking about. So we had a forum with the Legal Aid Society and folks from the Exoneration Project, and we had a brother there from RAP. And Brenda, it was just a powerful. I almost lost it, when the kid was
Mm.
talking about how he lost so much of his life. And we had someone else that was there who was found to be innocent after serving 38 years. And just to think
What?
Oh
about
my
the,
gosh.
yeah, and just to think about
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah,
some of
you
the
can't undo
folks.
that though.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
how do you
you
Mm.
undo
don't.
that? Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm a filmmaker and I'm working on a film, and it's called Disappearing Freedom: The Decline of Justice. And you can access the first look on www.ironmetropolis.com. That's the name of the company that is supporting this documentary. Big shout out to Terrence Colbert. Hopefully, he'll be able to join us. He's been invited. And this film is going to really expose some of the most outrageous cases. There's too many. I mean, in fact, one is too many, but
Honest to
there are
you, yeah.
just
Sure.
way too many of these cases of folks just languishing in prison, and its impact one individual can have on an entire family.
Mm.
They don't have
Mhm.
the support and protection and security to being with their wives and their children. The children are impacted. here in the Bronx. I don't know if you guys notice, and I want to go around the room and find out where everyone is from. But I am here in New York City, in the Bronx, and there was a shooting where this guy was shooting almost in between these kids. Like when I was raised, that just never happened. It was hands off of elderly, hands off
Yeah.
of children.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just, you kind of think about like the impact of the wrongfully convicted and fathers not being in the community. The fathers were the one that they regulated people. The criminals would run to the police because the people
Yeah.
were so organized and
Yeah.
together and would not allow certain things to happen in the community that we see happening today. What do you think about that, the good doctor? Am I on the right track with that, or am I missing the mark? He's more intelligent than I am. But
You are. Listen. You hit it right on the head. And listen, let me tell you why you even hit it on the head. And because a lot of times we see, and we see in modern media. I use one movie as an example, Baby Boy.
Mm,
And when Vin Rhames' character was the mother's boyfriend, and Tyrese wanted to go and kill some AV did something, and even though he didn't like that father figure because
right.
he was taking and stepping in on his mother, he was able to make him and told him what to do and how to do, and he accepted it. And I think that we find a lot of the violence we have in our communities. If fathers stood in front of their sons who were going to commit violence, that violence would cease. We
Mm,
see a lot of stuff change, but a lot of times because you don't have that person who is the leader, who's supposed to be running and protecting the community, saying anything or doing anything, the whole place is running amok a lot of times we see.
yeah, yeah. That presence is so important and so vital to the health and welfare and well-being of the community to have fathers there in the house. Okay, so let's have everyone introduce themselves. You already know who I am, and I think you know who Brenda is. And I want to hear from Jacqueline Banner. She's so adorable. She's a friend of mine out in California. And Cheryl, I want to know a little bit more about you and where you are from. And Eric, he's going to be back. He wrote in the chat that he has to step away for a few minutes. He'll join us. Rob Weber. And then I also know that mental health clinician Lakota Leon will be joining us a little bit later in the program. So that should be fun. And this is a really good balance. We're going to have conversations with men, women, and children. Anyone who wants to come on to this program. This is not just testosterone. So yeah, so let's start with, at least at my window, I see Cheryl. Hi Cheryl, how are you? I like the background.
Yes, thank you.
You
That's
must be an
actually,
outdoors person.
we actually live up close to Alaska. Most people
Oh.
don't know where we're living in Canada. We're in Canada, but right close to Alaska. And this was from the pub the other night. I took this picture at 9:30 at night.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that
Nice.
stunning how much sun there
Yes.
is up there?
That's beautiful. The rainbow.
And the rainbow too. It's supposed to be pretty unusual.
Yeah.
We were celebrating Rob's birthday, so yeah.
Oh, happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much.
From the folks over at Tell Them Daddies Matter Too said happy birthday, happy Father's Day. And this is such a special day. And we want to talk a little bit about all the issues surrounding dads and all the fun stuff. We're going to talk about all those crappy gifts we get for Father's Day today, like cologne and $1 cologne, and horrible T-shirts. With this dad,
Right here.
red dad.
Right here. Right here.
What,
Sure.
what else? Jackie, you here? Tell us where you're from. I kind of said that she's from LA, and she's whatever we're doing at GoPro, Jacqueline is there. She also works with I Am Metropolis Films. So just a lot of PD work. Jack, you there? Introduce yourself to the people. Okay, I got a little. So we're gonna come back to Jack when Jack gets back. She's probably away, and we're gonna go next to Dino.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm in Canada. I'm in Toronto. Not a father. Had a father. He's passed away since, but yeah, no. I think it's important to talk about these kind of things. You know, the family unit and the sense of community that used to exist has been under attack for quite a few decades, and it's hard to figure out where to start to kind of bring things back because they were hugely important, you know.
Yes.
And the ramifications of those losses are being shown on a daily basis, across the board. People are getting affected, even not even knowing how badly it affects our day-to-day perspective, our ability to cope and go through things. But yeah, so I'm usually on a few other shows of Brenda's, and she invited me over. I think she didn't realize that I was actually more than just a comedian, but actually
Yeah.
I have a face made for radio, Tylon, so it works out quite well in my favor. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for having a voice and lending your voice to the Daddies Matter 2 platform, because we're going to definitely talk a little bit more about the presence of men and families and why sometimes it almost appears there is like almost a disdain for, I think, the
Yep.
energy of men, and some of the things that we could do to make it better. Yeah, Jacqueline just texted me, said she's dealing with something. She's going to join back in a few minutes. And so we'll go back to Jacqueline, and we have Eric Newton in the house from Oakland, California. You're close to Jacqueline.
Okay, right on. Yeah. I'm Eric out here in beautiful East Bay, California. Always lived out here. Haven't got to travel much, so I'd love to see New York someday. But I'm happy to be here. Yeah, mostly I know of the show through Brenda. I do a lot of comedy stuff on her different shows. She's great to work with, and I'm happy to be here because even though my father and we didn't have the best relationship, and he's
Right.
passed away now. Now that I'm getting kind of older, I kind of realize more of the role of how difficult it can be to even not just be a father, just to be like a male role model as positive in someone's life.
Right.
And I think I have some cool stories to share about me and my brothers and fathers and whatnot. So I'm happy to be here, man. Happy Father's Day to everybody here, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, because I want to hear about those stories. Because when we think about fatherhood, we have to talk about stepdads, we have to talk about granddads, great granddads, we got to talk about mentors. And I know I get a lot of pushback from that. Well, mentorship, no, especially with what's going on, particularly in Black and brown communities where, there's a dearth of men who actually engage young people. And changing that narrative, I think, is awesome. And we have to support more of that happening. At the same time, fighting to get some of these folks who are incarcerated, over incarcerated, and wrongfully incarcerated back into the community, because it's a real cost to the community. I was just shocked to see that shooting. I don't know if you guys saw it, but go look at Bronx. It was a couple of days. It was just absolutely horrible. I never saw anything like that before in my life. And he just kept shooting, and the kids were like, I wonder what kind of therapy they're going to get. All right.
Sure.
So, and then Rob with the good. Rob, don't put the guitar away too soon, Rob. You got to do a jingle for us. You got to do something for us. Rob, tell us where you're from and what's happening.
Well, right now I'm actually upstairs from where Cheryl's sitting in the same little town. It's actually the town I grew up in. And the reason we're here is Cheryl's job that I'm not going to say online, and the fact that I just got custody of my son. Actually, it's funny that you bring up wrongfully convicted, because I wasn't. I was rightfully convicted. I stood there after I punched the gentleman that hurt my son and said, "You damn rights I did it." And now he lives with me, and it turns out, Father's Day is a little different because I've had an interesting experience. I've been a bad dad, learned some lessons, still trying. I've lost a child and done time for a child and learned how to be a dad. So it's a hell of a privilege to be here, Tylon, and I'm really happy to definitely help any way I can to say, yeah, sometimes dads make mistakes, and sometimes we can say, yep, I made a mistake, and this is how we learn. Maybe I can teach you something, kid.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's important to point out, and thank you for your candidness and openness about that, because, I think a lot of times. No,
if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be telling jokes, Tylon. That's what saved me.
We tell jokes just to stay sane. People don't know it's an elixir. But the idea that, a lot of folks, particularly, women can make mistakes and they can recover very easily. It's almost like a automatic forgiveness. It's okay. But it seems like for us, we have just that, what was the scarlet letter?
Yeah,
You just
yeah,
walk
big
around,
T.
shame,
Shame.
shame. It's like,
Yeah.
no, we all make mistakes and we all have chapters in our lives we don't like read out loud. And a lot of times, I think to the detriment of, us sharing and finding that, guess what? We all have challenges and we've all had problems, especially in the Black community where they got stop and frisk. You have an abundance of folks who have interactions almost regularly with the police and they're not good. And that's another aspect of my film that I'm going to talk about too is if someone has done their time and whatever, why they don't have certain rights. So we're going to talk about that. But this is awesome. I like the group already. This group
Oh,
is
yeah,
Aren't
thank
they
you.
aren't they
energized.
awesome?
Yes.
Like Ron, I'm so glad that you joined us from the earth, that process in our life and you jumped over here to Go Pro Radio because I want you to tell your dads that you work with on a day-to-day basis when they come over here they certainly aren't going to be bored and
Mhm.
or kicked about fatherhood.
Yeah.
We simply want to help and entertain and I don't care who I have to drag in to do it. So
Thank
just
you.
thank you. I saw what you were doing yesterday. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Ron?
What we had
Yeah,
yesterday?
yesterday.
Oh, well, we talked about it last week, but okay, so the whole week. Yesterday we had our Father's Day picnic activity. It was a conjunction between down here in the city of Lauderhill. It's Lauderhill, Florida. Lauderhill,
Okay. I
Florida.
was like
Um,
Lauderhill. What's that? All right.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes you forget. You just
Yeah.
forget.
We're putting it on the
It's
Yeah.
map.
worldwide. Yeah. So if you don't know what Lauderhill is, next to Fort Lauderdale, everybody knows what that is.
Okay.
Um, and if you don't know what that is, it's near Miami, Florida. So you definitely know where
Yeah.
that is.
And if you don't know where
So
that
we
is, it's
so we
near
had
the
Yeah.
airport.
yeah.
If you don't know where that
So
is, it's in America.
right, exactly right, Tyler. It's in America, so that might be the problem. One of the things that we just we had a whole week of activities through our program in conjunction. So we had yesterday was the closing activity that we had a big picnic for dads to bring their kids out. We had
Right.
kickball games. We played. Um, I think it's called corn husk.
All
I
right.
think we
Ooh.
take the bag and put it in the corn, toss it. I think that's the name. That's the name of it, corn husk.
Yeah,
We
that's
had
yeah.
We're gonna
relay
go with
racing,
that.
sock.
That's what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had sock races. We had water balloon tosses, basketball shootouts, all that for dads and their kids to come out and do. We had a lot of dads was able to get their kids for that activity, and really show that listen, there is a time, place, really be engaged in your child's life, and this is one of those opportunities, one of those times. So we wanted to set up that time and place for them to be able to do that. And then we had a whole bunch of other just families come out. We had a really good time, free food, and then we culminated the whole end of the day with people getting in the pool, and that's
Mhm.
always a fun thing here in Florida to get in the pool.
All
Heck
right.
yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds like something to do. I do have like a few questions. Let me see. Let me check. Black Max, are you ready? I've been waiting to hear whatever it is that you've done. So I'm
Hmm.
curious to know, are you ready?
Yeah, y'all ready? I'm gonna jump into it right now. For those of y'all that don't know, my name is Black Max. I'm a recording artist, as Tylon so graciously introduced. I love it when he introduced me. He has such a way with words.
Yeah.
Um, so let me just jump right into this.
It's a siren part of this.
Yeah. This is for the kings. Bring upon fatherly pride. You lift your head and I probably cry. I mean, that's gotta be why. Don't nothing bother me but property types. I mean, it's gotta be time. My G is probably time. I need the fatherly signs. I need incest. Bodies bond suddenly mine. I need the rest. I leave the block. Only when the father really needs the stock. I go appease the plot just so my seeds can flock. This is for the queens. The life's hard, still in charge, got by any means. Loose fit in the shirt, now you popping at the seams. You put in the work while you blocking at them deans, and them dreams are attainable, no matter the cost. Although it seems so invadable, the pattern is lost. Grow a team so it's capable to scatter with flaws. Know the need so unbreakable, you scatter the gloss. Yeah.
My God.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah. Yeah. So you
That's
heard
all I
it
got for y'all
first.
right now. But yo, if you want to write a jingle, I could do that too. I don't know if that's jingle-ish. I kind of just wrote like a song for Father's Day.
Nice.
That is exactly what we needed for the intro, Tylon. That felt like
Yes.
fatherhood in like 8 bars.
Mhm.
That was like that. I was like, yeah, I feel it. I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
You know what? I saw Rob start strumming the guitar.
Mhm.
Yeah, like
Yeah, let's hear it, Rob.
ooh, yeah.
Man,
I
we got
want
Oh,
to.
lovely.
I know, Elder
Mm.
Thomas. I can't see the whole name, or else I would announce this like yesteryear. But there is someone amongst us, and I want to welcome all the fathers and people who are here to enjoy Father's Day with me. So once they connect, do you know the name, Tylon?
No, just Elder Thomas. That's all I see. But I see
No, is that I can tell you. I can tell you to Elder
Okay.
Thomas. Elder
Thank
Thomas
you,
is one
Ron.
of the oldest,
Mhm.
longest standing mentors in our program.
Wow.
When I send it out, so
Nice.
but also he had. I mean, this is a joke that a running joke we have, but he has really sucky internet. So, so I mean, he has old fashioned internet. He's in his house. He's revving it up. So it's ongoing.
It's okay. We
So it
work
might just
with
take him a
people
little
around
time.
here. We work with it. Lakota is in the house. I don't want to mess up the last name. I've had like a bad habit all day of messing up people's names. Lakota, my girl, how
Leon.
are you?
I'm good, and it's Leon. The J is silent.
Mm.
Okay, Leon.
Yes,
Like
Leon.
Oh, I
lion.
love it. Love
Rah.
It actually means lion in Swedish.
Mm.
Leon. See? And
Mm.
Jacqueline Banner, I want to say hello.
Mhm. She just texted and says she's
Oh,
dealing with
she's just
something. She's gonna jump in a minute.
okay, that works. I mean, thank you guys, Black Max. You are amazing. Like, I'm ready to put that on a record and see how much money we could raise for the wrongly convicted and fatherhood of the world.
Yep.
Like, I think we can make that happen.
Mhm.
And Rob, you are going to join him. Imagine that in Canada.
I
That's
think
all I'm saying.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
That
like
would
it.
be amazing.
Well, you
I'll
know,
play drums.
Black Max knows we have a full recording studio here in the Bronx, so
Woo!
he can come on out and professionally record. And maybe you can collaborate, Rob. Rob can
I'd
send
love
his.
to.
We use technology now, so
Oh,
yeah,
that's how
we
we
can do
do
a
it. Like, I'm
collaborate. That's
behind the
right.
times.
Yeah, we could definitely do a collaboration, and we should do that. Matter of fact, we're
Yeah, I'd
going
love
to
to.
do that. We're going to
Okay,
do that.
it's all on
Speak it
recording.
into existence, exactly.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
And now you can play it back over and over and over again.
Mhm.
Ron, I do want to ask, you'll lead this discussion off for me. Do you think fatherhood is so far gone that there's no room for a comeback? Because I did a show earlier and I have witnesses here to attest that the image of fatherhood was just it wasn't what it used to be when I was growing up. So do you think that is so far gone that we can't bring it back?
I mean, I would feel that the people who are not actively engage on a day-to-day with anything, I think a lot of that will come from their ignorance of not being aware and around fathers. One of the most important things is that you can see is we have a lot of myths as well as a lot of negative um, talk and information and being spewed about what fatherhood should be. Like we have an idea of what fatherhood was from the
Mhm.
50s. And we know that
Mhm.
social construction, how to operate, but we live in a completely different world today. Fatherhood takes on so many different dynamics that maybe old components are saying, hey, fatherhood is dead because it's the fatherhood that's not from the 50s. But if you're looking at fatherhood in reference to the connection fathers with their children, we're steadily on the rise. I mean, and if you don't believe we're on the rise, that means that you're kind of you. I would love to, I love to debate anybody about that because I can pull up 100 cases of fathers who want to be with their children. The system don't let them be with their children, the system that we have, but they want to be with their children. And I think that just a human being in general wants to be with their kinfolks. Like even a child abused wants to be with an abusing parent. Vice versa. I mean, we don't find that very often. Everyone wants to be a part of their tribe. And so when you
Okay.
say for a lot of men, and we do have this old mindset of people being stuck in their ways.
Sure.
But one thing that men who are fathers start feeling at a certain age is what is their legacy, and if they haven't did anything with their legacy, they start regretting and they start focusing back on how do I fix that, how do I begin, because fatherhood never ends, doesn't end at 18, 19. It
Mhm.
don't even end when you go into the 6 feet under. Fatherhood is a long lasting thing. Ask anybody who has a father who passed. Ask them, do they still believe in their father and and the
Right.
fatherhood what their father had taught them.
Well, I
It's very
definitely
clear.
do. My dad's been gone for for 4 years now. I count every second. So every one of these shows that I get to do just reminds me that he's here. And that's why I fight so hard for it, because I don't care how bad it looks on the other side. I'm like, I am so glad that I got those memories with him. And I'd fight for any kid to have those kind of memories, because what I seen earlier, I was like, good Lord, where did they all go? Maybe they're on this program. I don't know. Um,
Yep.
Dino, the genetic
Mhm.
marvel, do you think fatherhood and the image, because you were there earlier, so do you think the image of fatherhood is so far gone that we can't bring it back?
No, it's listen, there's a constant battle in life and throughout time that things that we've needed have come under attack. Whether that's for power or influence, doesn't matter why. But
Mhm.
what happens is that those things that we didn't realize how important they were
Mhm.
have to learn a different way. So in a lot of communities, we've seen, I know I've noticed this, was that there will be more interaction by some people on behalf of the community to step in as a fatherly figure. I personally myself, I don't have children, and while I look like I'm 1,000 years old, I'm not that old. But younger people that I used to work with, or even people my own age, and also younger comedians have come to me with real life issues, and I'm like, okay, let's sit down, let's process it. And that idea of as Tylon mentioned, that idea of mentorship as well
Mhm.
is one of the huge factors of
Right.
fatherhood. So what has to happen now is essentially, now that we realize how important it was, while it's gone in one way, is it needs to adapt and find another way. And that's kind of what we're seeing now, where it's slowly, well, it's becoming more evident that it has a huge importance. And it's not about attacking anyone individually, but the fact is that as a person, any culture, any, doesn't matter where they're from, any person as they grow needs certain influences. They need someone to show them how important a home is. They need someone to show them how important it is to stand up for what's right and what's wrong in life.
Right.
That's not necessarily just a man or just women. That's not it. But it's that influence as an ideology that we're seeing starting to come back in weird ways.
I
Mhm.
love it. Cheryl, Weber Hall, you were there earlier. What do you think? You think it's too far gone?
No, not at all. I think we had some women that were a little sour on men, to be honest with you.
No.
What was interesting there was thank you to the fathers and thank you to the single mothers. Nobody mentioned the single fathers who were busting their ass because some woman left them. Like, um, we need the men. We need the balance. We're like it's kind of like a yin and yang. You need that within that, and kids need to know that. I'm thankful.
Right.
Well, my dad wasn't present exceptionally a lot when I was younger. I had my grandfather there and I had all of my extended family. So I learned, like, other people step up to the plate. And now that I'm older, we have a different relationship. And I think he's probably similar to what Rob had said. You know, sometimes you make mistakes and that doesn't mean they need to last forever. You kind of build a bond and you make connection and you share that love for each other and each other as a family, and you keep growing.
I
We still
love
need to
it.
do that. Yeah.
Eric Newton, what say you? You were there earlier. Do you think it's too far gone, or do you think there's a recovery method?
Well, I think I guess it depends because everyone's gonna have a different image of what they think like the perfect father is. I can tell stories about my family and growing up. And people would be like, "That sounds horrible. That sounds traumatic." But my dad, but it wasn't that bad. Like I feel like I'm like as a product of my dad, even though we didn't get along. I like my life. Like I make enough money. I'm doing well. But I can tell people things and they'd be like, how'd you survive that? It's like it wasn't that bad. So but I can tell you this other story about the same guy. My dad, so my older brother, he's actually my half brother. So my dad, I never think about this because he was just my brother, but my dad's technically his stepdad, right? So now, like, let's talk to them now times. My older brother, he married a lady that already had a son. His name's Andrew, my nephew. And anyway, long story short, later in life, Andrew's mom, abandoned my brother and her son, and my brother still raises that kid, and they love each other. I mean, that dude, that dude is his son, like his stepson, and he's my nephew. We of course we love him. Like his mom's not in our family anymore that much, but and so anyway, what I want to say is, even though I had a weird path with my dad, I still came out okay. My dad made my brother, he learned the value of raising another man, and that's why he's so good with Andrew. And so it's really weird. I guess it depends on if someone's trying to find like a textbook image, like this is what a father is. I don't think that could ever happen. But if people adapt to be like, hey, like how did the offspring turn out, and then we judge the father off that. I think there's probably like a lot of good dads actually in the world.
I think that's a great sliding scale. Black Max, let me hear your thoughts. Now, you weren't there earlier, but just in your experience, do you think fatherhood has a way back, or is it too far gone?
I think that it will always be something that we can find a way back to, because a lot of the times, a lot of the situations is because we ourselves never had fathers. And usually, it's people of color who don't really have the luxury of growing up with both their parents or sometimes just one parent. But I think we gotta make it our jobs, especially as the younger generation. We have to make it our jobs to kind of make sure we reestablish that sense of fatherhood, and not just fatherhood, but also motherhood mixed in with that. Just kind of like the ideal 3-parent home. I'm a 2-parent home, excuse me.
I was like, there's an extra one? Like, there's an extra one
Holy
and
Spirit.
nobody told me? No, Black
that's the
Mac.
3rd parent right there. There you go.
I totally, yeah, I get it. We should just be having everybody on board. And the only way to have everybody on board is to get fatherhood on board, right? You can't have everybody without fatherhood. And so one of the things that I definitely want to do with this show is just to give people all sorts of points of view on fatherhood, all kinds of directions. You're not by yourself no matter what direction you're going in, and I don't know, Lakota, I need your help on this one. I, as a daddy's girl, I walk into a room of women here. Oh, she's beautiful. Welcome, Lakota. Um, I walk into a room full of women here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I say, "My daddy's the best daddy in the world." And then all I get is meow, 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 meow. Does that happen to you, or is that just a me thing?
I think the biggest thing that you and I share in common is the fact that we both have very close relationships with our fathers. My dad um, is my rock star. Um, he's been my mentor, my spiritual advisor, the comedian, uh, and for me, Father's Day. I would say maybe for the last 3 years have been, well, actually, the last 4 years have been really tough because my father, you know, is battling dementia, and there are good days and there are not so good days, and so you know, for him, he wasn't a big fan of like a day for fathers because he's like every day is Father's Day.
Yeah.
That was my dad's piece, and my father was one of those rare breeds who not only was proud in terms of being a father, but he was a very confident father. And I think that's one of the things that is like lacking is confident dads, because they're either afraid of, let me not use the word afraid. They're either concerned about like legal things or dealing with, baby mama drama, in addition to the day-to-day of figuring out like how to raise a son and or daughter. So I, always bragged about my father. Always bragged about my father. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, Brenda, because I would get that. It's almost as if it's a foreign concept that, especially with a young girl, it's a foreign concept for a young girl to be so attached, to, her dad. And some people would be like, but yeah, but you have a mother too, it was your mother that gave birth to you. And I'm like, well, I'm sure my dad had something to do with it too, so,
that gets, Lakota, that gets to the issue that I wanted to talk about women who say, it's Father's Day. I was a father. I did everything. And so this is my day too.
Well,
Have you heard that?
Unless you have a penis, you can say that. Because I can never play myself and say that, I'm a father too, because I'm not. I am a mother, and I know my role as a mom. I appreciate my role as a mom, and I love my role as a mother. I don't want to play daddy. I don't. I can't teach my son, the way that his father will teach him. The same way, and my parents struggled. I mean, I have no problem being fully transparent. My mother was an alpha, and strong Haitian woman whom who kind of like crossed that boundary in terms of parentage, and would sometimes try to emasculate my dad, and I don't think she did it purposefully. I think it was just pretty much a cultural thing. But my father held firm in terms of raising his sons the way that he knew to raise his sons as a man, and he raising his daughters the way that he knew to raise his daughters as a father, because there's clearly a distinct difference.
Right.
Clearly a distinctive difference. And I just to end on this now, unfortunately, between issues, whether it's stemming from racism, whether it's stemming from economic insecurity, whether it stems from like systemic entities that has impacted like the fabric of families, a lot of women just reprogrammed and reconditioned themselves to undertake that role of saying, well, I'm the mother and the father, as opposed to just saying I'm the mother and I'm just trying to make it.
Right. No, and I was going to say that it reminds me of a quote by Fred Hampton when he said, you can kill the revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution. It's like you can kill the idea of father, but you'll never kill fatherhood. And that there is a need within every human being to have balance, and some of that balance is manifested through having the two parent home and an environment. And I think these things are cleverly and intentionally played against each other so that we can be as dysfunctional or as uncooperative, I guess, with each other to the benefit of a system that was never designed to empower us. So, this idea of fatherhood going away, that's impossible. That will never happen. I think that there is just a
Well, I need you
universal
to come
energy.
on the earlier show because
Hmm.
I thought I was gonna get my I'm sorry if there are kids watching, but I thought I was gonna get my ass kicked for that. I'm just saying. So it scared me, which is actually coincidentally how Daddies Matter 2 got started, is that I was emptied into about 250,000 women, single moms, and there was page after page after page after page of disparaging comments about
Hmm.
fathers and men and the role that they play in their kids' lives. And
Mhm,
I
mhm.
scrambled back to my upbringing and I was like, where was I? Like
Right.
all I could see is
Yeah.
Christmas and birthdays and, kisses on the forehead and getting on daddy's back and, just loving on my dad. Like I
Right.
couldn't I
Right.
couldn't see what they were talking about. So
But
I am.
I,
Go
I
ahead.
I think those are teachable moments. I think you know what women and people really want is peace. They want harmony, and they just don't know how to get there. And there's a lot of noise and distractions on how to really get there. It's very simple and it's obvious, and it's in the realm of communications. But there is an intentional effort that I think we need to look at and examine why it exists to try to create as much discord and a lack of harmony by supposing power onto women, and so that men are like, you don't want to go to court, you just don't want to go to family court, period. I mean, I've had my exchange with
No,
family
No, you
court,
But
it's
don't.
horrible. You
but that
don't. And they
no,
weaponize children, they have
oh,
weapon,
absolutely.
and the
Yes.
only reason why they're able to weaponize it is because the system has been designed in such a way that fatherhood is almost like negated. Like, what? We are the fathers. Don't get it twisted. You can't admonish, you can't chastise, you can't deal with your kids in this way. You can't. The women have
Right.
so many
What?
rights. So
I don't
it's.
want to cut you off, but
Mhm.
I gotta get to Ron because he's been. I mean, if he waves that hand again, I'm pretty sure he gonna forget. So, Ron, you had your hand and your thumb. I saw both of them. What's going
I
on?
mean, I just want to I just want us. I think that a lot of times we look at a lot of this and remember we're talking about two different types of parents here. We're talking about married parents
Mhm.
who decide to come together as two individuals to have a child, and then they might get divorced, and then that's a different dynamic
Mhm.
than two individuals who never even really probably planned to be in a relationship. And I
Mm.
think one of the big problems that we have in the society today that draws this negative energy that we see focused is
Mhm.
people who are having sex, not relationships, who having sex and resulting in babies. And
Yep,
then they are not
absolutely.
compatible in many senses. They don't know how to communicate with each other. They actually, in many points, when after the baby comes, they realize they do not even like each other. And so
Yeah,
and
very much so.
when we're looking at that, we have to put that in context because that is a large majority of now you have people who are forgetting again that what's most important as and you see this in married couples who get divorced. At some point they're petty, but in a large point they remember what's most important. A lot of times most important is their children, and they got to move on. And then so you see these blended families come up with two couples, they divorce and they got all new family and everybody going on vacation together. That's
It should be,
I,
right? People
that's the
should,
way it.
right?
Yes, that's the way it
Absolutely.
should be. I'd like to get Jacqueline Banner's opinion. Jacqueline, are you there? I want to phone a friend.
You know.
She is not your friend.
Okay,
No, well,
she's
no.
Kathleen Blanco.
Well,
Are you there?
Kathleen is in. That's what I was going to say. She just came.
Yeah.
Kathleen. Hi, Kathleen.
See, you have to give these people time, Dino. You can't just like, you guys are
Hey.
on from already this morning. So, but in this conversation, I just want to make sure that, we all
Yep.
come together. I'm always checking in on the fathers. Like there's so many things going on out there and so many situations I get myself into just by having a good relationship with my dad, that this is the only place I can come. Literally, daddies
but
matter
but
too.
Brenda, this is the part that you have to also understand. Imagine what you're saying as a grown adult. Imagine what a child face when they're in a
Right.
school
Exactly.
and every other kid is talking about my daddy, my mama, my daddy, my mama, and you saying, why is this kid beating up my child? Well, the kid is beating up your child is because your child keeps talking about a daddy and a mama that they have, and this kid doesn't have it.
No, it's good.
These things happen.
They do.
There's a reason. Look, it's not just that it's mothers and fathers and everything. Raising children is more than a two-person job. Like it is so much work.
Right? Takes a
It's
village.
so much. And that's why it's like the problem is that we've gotten to a point where you're like, I don't like this village. I want to get out of here, right? Like,
Oh my
and I'm like,
God.
listen, I get that. That's fair. But that doesn't, whenever anyone jumps in and says, oh, well, I need more money or anything, listen, we all want more money. That's blatantly obvious, but that's not what kids need is guidance, love, a safe, a place where they can call
Be
home.
kids.
Right?
They can be kids.
Community.
I
Yeah.
literally just want this. I stay behind the picture because it's all about dads and fatherhood, and it should be a safe space. And anybody who wants to come here and challenge the ideals or change the narrative, as Dr. J used to say, I'm all down for it. Every week, Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I beg of you guys to help me change the narrative, because a lot of you guys were there with me earlier and it was not a warm reception. And Lakota, I wish you could have been there with me, because she'd have had my back. She'd have been like, y'all better quit, stop yelling at her. But with with this, I know Tylon has a fun game planned, and we always get here, and the more we grow, the less time that we have. But I want to play the game because we have to come back. We have to keep coming back and keep coming back every episode and bring someone that can benefit from the platform.
Well, I think, if we can do this, if we can agree to forego the game to have Brother Rennie Smith, who is just join us, and he is from the family and friends of the wrongfully convicted. And I think that we need to do is agree to probably maybe go another hour, because I feel like I didn't get a chance to really meet Eric and Rob and talk more to Dino and all the other friends.
You'll regret talking to me. 100%.
Yeah. I want to hear more of that guitar. But the time just went by so fast. But anyway, just for the station ID, you have been listening to some outstanding panelists, some really intelligent people, smarter than I am. And this is Daddies Matter 2 on the GoPro Radio Revolutionary station. And I'm Tylon U. Savior. And joining us just now, as we are about to wrap, is Brother Rennie Smith. And let me tell you a little bit about him. He served over 25 years in prison. He didn't just get back out and melt into society. He was wrongfully convicted, and he has started, along with Derek Hamilton, an organization called Families and Friends of the Wrongfully Convicted. They had an outstanding program with incredible panelists just yesterday, celebrating fathers and Juneteenth, called Fathers and Freedom, making the connection with freedom and or the lack thereof with fathers who are wrongfully convicted. Thank you, Rennie. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Yeah, thank you, and for the invite again. Apologize for my tardiness, but the time got upon me. I was with my grandchildren today, and I just looked up and realized it was after 6 o'clock. They made a commitment to just sneak up on me today and take me out, so I was with them. So that's why I'm here at this
Well,
time. But again, I want to apologize, but it was
no, it's no apology.
control.
Your apology is not accepted because it's not needed.
Oh, let me
In
answer this one,
the last
Tylan.
2 minutes, can you tell us just about your story? Tell everybody about your story real quick, and tell us a little bit about yesterday and what we can do moving forward. So that's 3 part. Tell us your story about yesterday and what we could do to help out.
Well, again, thank you. I served 27 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit. I was convicted in 1985. I was released in 2012. I went to prison solely based upon a corrupt detective out of Brooklyn. Many of you probably heard Detective Louis Carcello, who have numerous victims in Brooklyn. I'm still waiting for my exoneration. It was a traumatic experience for me.
Can imagine.
The topic, Daddies, Matt, I really wanted to speak to that because I remember when I was away, I know you told me to be quick. I know my oldest child, my daughter, Elise, she wrote me a letter one time, and she said, Dad, today is Daddy's Day. All my friends have their father, but I don't have my father. And you know, that letter brought a tear to my eye. It's hard for me to cry. You know, prison hardened me so much, but nevertheless, I shed a tear. I was like, wow, you know? So those are some of the things that, you know, being away from my children, that really affected me. And today has affected them. My youngest daughter, she's 40 years old, but she still have issues with me, you know. She called me today and said, Happy Father's Day. But she would call me sometimes and say, Dad, you know, I just need my space right now. I believe, you know, when I'm looking back, that out of all of my 3 children, she was the one that was most scarred and affected behind my incarceration. A lot of people don't understand those effects of incarceration. Wrongful conviction doesn't only affect the incarcerated individual, it affects their families and communities as well, because when you go to prison, it drains your community of the resources that necessarily needed. So that's what's happening. You know, we speak to that. I'm one of the co-founders and directors of Families and Friends of the Wrongfully Convicted. I'm the executive director. And what we do today is, you know, we help people who've been impacted by wrongful convictions, myself, and Derek Hamilton. We made a committed efforts that when we get out, we was going to help people who we know that suffering from this disease. And we also, we have support groups because, you know, a lot of times their families, the wives, the mothers, the sisters, you know, this affects them too. So we are that pillow of support for them. You know, Nicole, who's very instrumental, Derek's wife, she shows and explains to them what she did to help her husband get relief and some of the trials and tribulations she went through and how she was able to stay the course. You know, so that's what we do. You know, we do rallies and we go around, we advocate for any legislation to prevent future wrongful convictions. 2 of the leading causes of wrongful convictions are false confessions and misidentification. Probably about 2 years ago, we were successful in getting a piece of legislation passed on those 2 components. Because with false confessions, what's been going on, I know many of you took notice with the documentary, how they see us with the 5 exonerees who was convicted in the Central Park case, how the police get people in a precinct when there no cameras are around, and they manipulate them and coerce them and threaten them into making false confessions, committing the crime they didn't commit. So now what we did with, anytime an individual go into a precinct in New York City, but they're doing pilots runs right now, there's supposed to be a camera up against the wall somewhere to prevent this from happening. Also with identification, a lot of times what the police officer does is they do suggestive work, manipulate victims into picking out the wrong person. An example of this, if a victim have just been robbed, they would go snatch an individual up, or they make sure the victim a picture in the mugshot and say, look at these pictures real good. What about this guy right here? Now, maybe a week later, they may call that same victim down and say, we need you to come down to the precinct. We believe that we got this person who robbed you. Now, when the victim goes down to the precinct, they see the guy who they just looked at him in a mugshot a week ago. So that's in their mind. They remember it. Right. And the police use the word we believe. So they said, this must be the guy right here. So that's suggestive. So now what we worked on getting in play is called a double blind study. That's where the police who's conducting the identification procedure, he doesn't even know who the perpetrator is. So we were trying to prevent those two measures from happening in the future because they affect people, they affect us as well. Right now, what we're doing is we're just trying to build or develop some capacity building with our organization. We're struggling, we're off the ground. A lot of the things we're doing is coming out of our pocket with our money, with lawyers and everything. We get letters now from, people all over the country now asking for help. Sometimes we read these letters and we see some levels or instance where there was some wrongdoings in these cases, but we got to turn them away. We got to write the letters and say, not right now. Those are some of the gaps that we have, and we're looking for resources, volunteers, to come in and help us, help us get this off the ground so we can be effective in doing this work, because we really can't do it alone. Right now, it's just me, Derek Hamilton, his wife, Lonnie Suri, who's doing this work, being committed to doing it. This organization been in existence since 2010, but we just got 501c3 in February of 20th. So we're doing the work. Yesterday's event was a success. I want to thank some brother Talon, because that part with the Zoom, that couldn't have been possible without him. He's been very instrumental since we met him. He's a God-sent brother. We truly love and appreciate this brother for the work he's doing and how he's always willing to help us. We had some food that we did on Father's Day. A lot of people came out, and I spoke to them at the end. We had a rally, just a moving experience. We had a brother that was exonerated. He came out too, a brother named George Bell. I don't know if many of you've seen him on the news. This last month, him and two others was exonerated in Queens. This brother went to prison he was 19 years old, and he was sentenced to natural life. Yeah. Now, I was sentenced to 25 years of life. But when he told me his story, it really, really touched me. He was facing a death penalty, but the jury came back and found him not guilty for the death penalty, and so he was sentenced to natural life. Yesterday on the Zoom, he told the audience, he said if they'd have gave me the death penalty, I'd have been dead by now, and I got exonerated 25 years later, and they'd have told my mother, I'm sorry. Those convictions didn't just happen today. We could go far as back into 1931 with the Scottsboro boys, where 9 little kids was falsely accused or falsely arrested for raping 2 white girls. And they was all sentenced. 8 of them were sentenced to the death penalty, and 1 of them was too young to get it, only to be exonerated 80 years later. And we could go back to 1944 in South Carolina, where 14-year-old George Stintley was falsely accused and falsely convicted for killing and raping 2 white girls. And 90 days after his arrest, he was executed. And 70 years later, he was exonerated. So this ain't just happened yesterday. It ain't just happened 10 years ago. It ain't just happened 20 years ago. This is a cycle that we're trying to break. Is going on right now. And I ain't gonna be too long. We got a case down in Louisiana where an individual was in jail when he was 17 years old for raping 2 white girls in 1977. The girls never reported any rape the day the alleged crime was supposed to happen. It was only 2 weeks later, one of the girls had a scratch on her neck, and she was asked what happened, and right away she said some black guy raped her. So they went on with that story, and this black guy was walking down the streets in Louisiana, and the police just snatched him up, threw him in the back of the police car, took him to a lineup the same day, and put him in handcuffs. Everybody else was not in handcuffs, and they got the 2 white girls to come in there, and they picked him out. And as soon as he came out the lineup, he was shot in the chest, but he was survived. I guess they were trying to kill this guy just to close the case, but he survived it. He's been in prison for 44 years. We have discovered that he's been innocent. There's no DNA or nothing linking him to the crime. One of the girls came forward and said she lied and said her uncle was the one who was sexually abused her. The other girl wasn't even touched. We presented this evidence to Louisiana Supreme Court. They threatened us and told us if we don't get from down there, we're gonna witness the old South, but we didn't allow that to scare us. So we kept pushing. We kept pushing, but we don't have a huge support team like we do in New York, where we could go grab people and have rallies and put more pressure on. So we
Rennie,
kept putting,
what I would like to do is offer you that support. Daddies matter too. I just don't know how much we can do, but there's a lot of us all over the place.
Well, you had a
And so,
wonderful idea. You had
yeah,
tell them about the idea that we talked about. We talked
abs-
about you before you joined, Rennie, and we had and Brenda, please tell them about this fantastic idea about fundraising with Black Max and Rob Weber doing this.
absolutely, to create music in order to fundraise for a particular cause. And I was telling Tylon a little earlier or on a phone call is that Daddies Matter too always needs a heart. It always needs a mission, a something. How can we help the most amount of fathers that we can? And it seems like Tylon has given us you, Rennie. So we were just talking and you missed Black Max's performance, but Rob Weber up there with the guitar. And I was like, you know what? We can definitely fundraise on these episodes of
That's
Daddies
right.
Matter too.
That's
And
right.
we can see what we can do, if not
That's
anything.
right. That's
A
right.
nickel, a dime, a dollar,
Yeah.
2 pennies. I'm sure it would help your cause.
Mm.
And so I
So,
invite you to keep coming back, Rennie, every episode that you can
mhm.
and talk to the people because no one can put your cause more eloquently than you have. And I was just over here like, I wish I had $5. Like, wait a minute, wait till next week. I got you. But would you please come back and let's see if we can fundraise for your cause.
And I would say too, Rennie, if you can, if you have anything, a cash app or a way we can make a donation to you, please put that in the chat area for us, for those who can do something now. And I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but if you can, it's definitely well worth your time, effort, and money to work for people who need us the most. And you can't tell me of another situation of someone being in a place that is degrading, just the worst hell on earth for a crime you didn't commit. Okay, so
And how about this, Tylon?
mhm.
How about we do one episode per organization so that we could spread the love? So the next time it would be Ron C. Osborne Williams organization. And then the next time it can be Black Max's organization and Lakota's organization. But I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Well, no, it's all good. That's what this is. And you're talking about community capacity building. We can make it real with us here right now. So as we close, I would hope Ron could play some parting music for the Daddies Matter 2 episode 2. And everyone could share their information, contact and otherwise, Cash App, about what's coming up in the chat area as well. And I would like everyone to make a commitment to bring just one person. Next week, say, hey, we had a great time. Matter of fact, it went too fast, to be honest, and have an opportunity to talk to real dads, real
Tylon,
talk.
that's what I was.
Tylon,
yes.
Let me just conclude on that. I just want to finish real fast on the individual who's in prison for 44 years. What happened is we put pressure on the judge, and thank you too, sister. And the judge told us he believed that the guy was sentenced for too much time. He didn't say that he was innocent. He said, but what he's willing to do is to release him from prison today, which was that day of the hearing, proceedings. He said, but under one pretense, if he registered as a sex offender, right? So we had a meeting and we discussed the situation, and we told him that we got to at least, let the client know. So he went back and told the brother, and the brother said, I'm not registering no sex offender, so I'm not going to be released. And I was like, we was like, wow,
Good.
He turned it down. He'd been in jail for 44 years.
Right.
He can't read or write at the time of the crime, and we still fighting. But that's some of the injustice that we are faced with in this country.
Right.
And, I just want to end on this note. But again, thank you. I just put the Cash App information in the chat. And sister, that was great because an initiative that we're thinking about putting together is start sending people who we identify as being wrongly convicted, start sending them money once a month. Let's take some of the strains off their families.
Right.
We thinking about, so that fundraiser would be very ideal for something. So this is all God, because we just were discussing something like this.
Well, and I don't even have to say you're welcome. Your thanks is no good here, because I thank you for taking the time out and coming to speak to, my crowd of dads on Father's Day, and just taking the time after I met you on Friday. So this is like 5 minutes that I've known you, and you took the time. So thank you to Tylon for, the meetup place. And thank you, Rennie, for coming by and actually blessing us with the story. Because as always, we love to have fun, but we also need something to form around. And Ron C. Osborne, he has this wonderful organization out there. I can never remember where nobody is from, because for me, you guys are all virtual. So there. So Ron
Louisiana.
and Rennie and Tylon and Dino and Cheryl and Eric and Lakota and Rob and Black Max and Said P and Kathleen Blanco, the Canalaskan Studios, and Jacqueline Banner. All of us can make a difference in each organization's journey, I should say. And as long as it's got something to do with fatherhood, I am so down.
Well, happy Father's Day.
Beautiful.
Hear from Rob Weber.
Can I make a motion? Can I make a motion before we close?
Sure.
We make a motion to take back to the producers that you reevaluate, consider extending the time a little bit, because if we bring people, I mean, we didn't get to hear from a lot of people today because the time just kind of zoomed away from us. And I think that one of the important parts of this is that as many voices as we can hear when we ask them to come here would be really important. So, an hour is very fast, especially if we got a lot of voices.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
I feel personally attacked by that. I try not to talk much, but it's my nature. Brenda knows. She knows what she invited me here for.
I do. And I invited all of you guys. I don't know. Tylon, what do you think? 2 hours?
I think it's a wonderful idea. We can commit to go from 6 to 8. The time does go by too fast. And then what we'll try to do as well is send out reminders to the group so that you can share the fly. We have a new fly, by the way. And so now I have to do another one.
That's the first thing I was thinking about. He just sent out the new flyer. Here I am saying, hey, change the time. Change the flyer again.
Well, here's the really cool thing is that we'll go 2 hours if all you guys will promise to come back and join us. 2 hours is a long time when there's 3 of us, but when there's 20 of us, 30 of us, 40 of us, then 2 hours is amazing. This is so funny. We made a love match between Lulu and Cheryl. I know Lulu. I love her too. I know. Anytime I bring her anywhere, that's what happens. But thank you guys all for helping me celebrate Father's Day, which is a really big day for me. I miss my daddy every day. Yeah, but this show gives me hope that maybe I could make the same difference in another child's life. And that's why I really do it. And Tylon, in ending, thank you so much for being my baby daddy, because without you, Daddies Matter Too would not have what it has. So thank you for being there for it and always, having my back, because it is
always
important.
There for you. You know that. I'm here for everyone. Thank you for spending Father's Day with Daddies Matter Too. Don't forget to join us next week and bring a friend. As a matter of fact, bring a foe. It may end up being your friend after they say, wow, I met some wonderful people, had wonderful vibes. I think I'm going to change my opinion about you. But until then, I want everyone to stay safe. All right. We're still in the midst of this little pandemic and variants and all that. And now let's just, on our way out, check out Rob Weber.
That's about it.
Whoa. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Oh, thank you guys.
All right.
And before we close there, Rennie, I did 3 for a crime I did commit where my son was involved and I was right to do it. My hat's off to you, my man. I couldn't even friggin' imagine.
Yeah.
So you can't get it back, but you can do better time now.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So
Thank you.
my
Thank
heart's
you.
with you, and I will tell people about what I heard here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
I'll see you next week. I'll see all of you next
God
week.
bless.
Right. Safe and sound. Thank you guys. And by the way, this will be recorded and we're going to share it on Facebook.
Oh,
We're going to
perfect.
share it on YouTube. I'm just a little backed up. So tomorrow,
Some fiber.
look for this.
Yeah,
All right.
perfect.
Look for this content and share it far and wide so that folks will know what is happening here every Sunday now from 6 to 8. Good night and be well.